Hello everybody and welcome to What If Ash was a Martial Artist. So then, he explained to Jeff that his Machoke was quite special in a way, and how it had a variant of guts ability which made it incredibly strong. Then he would go to Mount Moon, where he would explore it for a bit, and when he was about to leave, he would see the same trainer who bullied Vulpix bullying another Pokemon. Because he get weak and that. Should have just given it back to its original trainer, which would annoy and catch Ash's ears. Ash, fed up of seeing this guy being so rude and mean to every Pokemon he practically sees him with. He would rugby tackle the guy onto the floor and would get into a fight with him. Meanwhile, Machop would lead Nido around to safety and would tell it to run away. As then, Ash would continue to attack the guy. But then, the guy would send out a Sand Slash which would blast Ash off of him. But the Sand Slash would have a weird bracelet on its left arm. As then, the guy would say, now I'm going to teach you never to mess with Team Rocket's business, which would shock Ash as he would throw off the current outfit he had, revealing a Team Rocket outfit. This would break into a battle, as Ash would send out Machop, as Sansa should be ready. Machop would use Mega Punch and Low Kick to try and do decent damage, but then Sansa would respond with an Aerial Ace doing a lot of damage. Machop would then come in with a Mega Punch, as Sansa should respond with a Slash. This would go on for a while, but then Sansa would make a massive earthquake, as then Machop would take the damage but avoid some of it by jumping and use the air as a momentum to smash its fist into Sandslash's face. But then Machop would get so angry seeing the look in Sandslash's eyes as it used moves. It would see that Sandslash was emotionless. It was like a weapon, like a puppet. It wasn't being treated like a Pokemon or an animal. It's being treated like a weapon. And then a raging aura would appear around it, as then blood red lightning would crackle, as then its eyes would be fiery red, as then it would roar, Machop! And then something would happen with the Sandslash's bracelet, as then the bracelet would begin to glow, and Machop would hear Sandslash's screams of pain and something like Sandslash, as a painful procedure began to take place, as a red aura would appear around it, as its nails got sharper, as it got spikier, as it got bigger, but it could still hear Sandslash's screams of pain, as then when it was over, Sandslash stood bigger, with yellow eyes, and with energy on its pikes. The Rocket Grunt, who I'm just going to call Jaden for convenience, would then say, you see, ever since us Team Rocket members began struggling with our operations to get Pokemon, like what happened in Cerulean City when I got that pathetic Vulpix, our top scientists have developed a way to enhance our Pokemon within a battle which is very similar to a phenomenon that goes on in the Kalos region. But this certain type of, well, this certain thing, it is very forceful and painful on the Pokemon. So, yeah. As then, Sandslash would stand there looking emotionlessly, but with visible pain in its face. Then Machop would just roar in rage as it would attack Sandslash, going full power against it, but Sandslash would just dodge most of its blows and would use a slash which would send it flying. And Machop wouldn't relent, as it would then use a low kick which would smash Sandslash down, and Sandslash would then use an earthquake which would send Machop flying, as then Machop would say, Machop, as then the red aura would begin to get fiercer, as then a bluish red aura would begin to surround it, and then Machop! And then a massive red and blue explosion would happen, as then a figure would begin to grow more muscular and taller and bigger, and then, when the dust had settled, there stood a Machoke with red eyes and reddish skin, which would confuse everybody there. But then Ashford realised that it had absorbed the aura and the power of its guts ability into its normal body, which caused it to evolve from the pressure that it had been exerting. Machoke would then look at Sandslash with a determined look in its eye. Machop, when Ash commanded for one karate chop, Machoke would just run, and it would slash Sandslash once, and then Sandslash would fall in defeat, which would shock Jaden, as he had never seen such a powerful Pokemon before. And then he would say, "This isn't the last of me that you'll see, Ash Ketchum. I'm going to get my revenge on you and teach you how that you need to respect me, Jaden, and Team Rocket," as he would then run away. Ash, after the battle, would go and check on Machoke, which would have collapsed in exhaustion, as he would then pick it up and and then he would walk out with it to Cerulean. When they made it to Cerulean, they would immediately go and heal their Pokemon. As then, Ash would walk into the gym. Misty would then come in and would say, "Oh, a new challenger. Wow, you look pretty strong. How many badges do you have?" As then Ash would admit that he has 3. Misty would then say, "Impressive. Most trainers I see around here only have like 1 or 2. Mostly 1, so I guess that I need to pull out slightly more serious duo of Pokemon." As she would then pull out 2 Pokeballs, which emanated a serious and strong aura around them. Misty would then send out her Starmie, as then Ash would send out his Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl would use Hydro Pump, as then Starmie would deflect it with a Rapid Spin, as then Poliwhirl would use a Mega Punch to try and land a decent damage, and it would, but Starmie would respond with a Hydro Pump of its own. And then Ash would try and command for a Double Slap, as it will come in and try and use Double Slap to do decent damage. But then Starmie would respond with a Rapid Spin. This would go on for a while until Ash realized that Starmie was basically uh was basically like the defensive Pokemon that Misty used to deflect strong attacks. So then Ash would come up with a brilliant idea as he would command his Poliwhirl to use continuous hydro pumps, which would make Starmie spin and spin and spin until it got tired. And then noticing this, Poliwhirl would take full advantage of the situation that was coming and use a powerful Mega Punch, sending Starmie flying, and then using Hydro Pump, which would do a lot of damage too, and then jumping and smashing it down with a powerful Mega Punch, knocking it out. Starmie would say, "Wow, impressive. Not many trainers are able to make it past my Starmie. That's why when you came into Cerulean, you didn't see as much trainers, didn't you?" And Ash would say, "Yeah. Wow. Now let me show you the true power of water types in Cerulean City. Go, Gyarados!" As then Gyarados would come out. Gyarados would use its intimidate abilities to intimidate the dwarfed Poliwhirl. Poliwhirl would try and use Hydro Pump and Mega Punch, but this would barely do any damage to the Gyarados, as the Gyarados would just use one Thunderbolt, which would shock Poliwhirl into submission. After that, Ash would say, "Wow, that Gyarados seems to be a strong opponent, probably one of the strongest I might face. So I think it's time I use all my strongest." Wanting to size up its newly evolved power, Ash would send out his Machoke. This would be an even battle, with Machoke's Mega Punches clashing with Gyarados' Ice Fangs, and then its Aqua Tails clashing with Machoke's Mega Punches and Dire Punches. This would go on for a while, but then Gyarados would use a Hydro Pump, which would do a decent chunk of damage to Machoke, as then Machoke would run through the pain, would charge through the Hydro Pump in the pain, and would jump and would smash Gyarados down with a powerful Karate Chop, which would do a lot of damage since it was a critical hit. Then Gyarados would use an Aqua Tail, and then Machoke would use a Low Kick. Both moves would cancel out each other, which would create a dust cloud all around the battlefield. But then both Pokemon would slide back, exhausted. But then Gyarados, seeing its opportunity, would strike Machoke with a powerful Thunderbolt, which would shock Machoke immensely. But then Machoke would be paralyzed, as then Misty would say, looks like it's not going to be as easy for you to win now. But there would only be a grin on Ash's face, as then the electricity, as then the paralyzation electricity will begin to crackle even stronger, as then blood red electricity would appear around Machoke, as then its eyes would begin to glow, and then it would roar, "Machoke!" And then this will confuse Misty, and then she would ask, "Wait, is this its guts ability?" But meanwhile she was questioning, Machoke would just come and slug Gyarados in the face, sending it flying with a Mega Punch. Then Machoke would come in with a flurry of Karate Chops, doing a lot of damage. And then Gyarados, finding its footing, would blast back with an Aqua Tail, which would be blocked, even though Machoke would still take damage. As then Machoke would then use a dynamic punch to try and confuse Gyarados, but this won't work, but still do decent damage. Then Gyarados would shock it again, but Machoke would be immune thanks to the guts. And then both Pokemon would slide back in exhaustion back to their places in the battlefield, as then Misty would say, "Time to finish this! Even though it's been fun. Hydro Pump!" As then Ash would say, "Charge through it with a Mega Punch!" As then both Pokemon's moves would collide, as then Machoke would run through it, would run through the pain, and would then jump and would punch Gyarados across the face, sending it flying. As then Gyarados would be defeated, which would shock Misty, as nobody had ever got past his Tommy, let alone defeated her Gyarados in a long time. Very few trainers have managed to do that. So she would then approach Ash and would then say, "Wow, you truly are a strong trainer. I was right to bring out those two Pokemon, or I would have lost in a much more humiliating way." As then Misty would give Ash the Cerulean City badge, the Cascade badge, yeah, that one. And then she would say, "Well, I hope you could battle someday because that was real fun." And Ash would say, "Yeah." As then Machoke and Ash would make their way out of the gym. Ash, after healing his Pokemon, would try and go explore other places other than Cerulean City, like go to Bill's house. But then he would see a Team Rocket Grunt running with all of these things in his hands. Machoke, even though having a visit to the Pokemon Center, was still exhausted from all of the guts energy it used, so Ash would decide to use Poliwhirl to accost the robber. Poliwhirl would then use a Hydro Pump, which would trip the robber up as he would fall onto the floor, and send all of his items and merchandise that he had stolen from the Pokemon and various trainers would fall. But then a Water Stone would fall at Poliwhirl's feet, as it would touch the foot, and Poliwhirl would begin to evolve. Before anybody could process what just happened, right before Ash, there would be standing a Poliwrath, which would shock and amaze Ash. As it would then say, "Congratulations, Poliwhirl," but then he would say, Poliwrath, as he would then Brofist his Poliwrath, excited that he got another fighting type added to his arsenal, thinking he is one step closer to his dream of getting a team full of strong fighting types to go and defeat Sabrina and take back Saffron City to the fighting type trainers. As then, I think this is the perfect time to leave off. I couldn't upload yesterday, even though I usually upload on Saturdays because a lot of stuff is happening. So, yeah, I just wanted to tell you that. So, see you later. Yeah.